All right, buckle up because today we're diving deep, really deep. We've got some truly remarkable source material here. We're looking at articles, research, notes, all commemorating Prophet Muhammad's 1454th birth anniversary. That falls on September 3rd, 2025, Mevlid Kandili.
That's right. A really significant time for reflection.
Exactly. And our mission for this deep dive, it's to go beyond, the familiar headlines. For you, our listener, who really follows this topic, we want to extract something more.
More than just information.
Yes. Profound insights, maybe even some surprising ones, into his life, his message, which feels so timeless, and the sheer power of his character.
And how that character, that example, still speaks to us.
Especially now. We want to uncover how these sources suggest his example offers a real pathway for reflection, even in the middle of, let's face it, our often cruel and merciless world.
Yeah.
So to really get to the heart of it, let's start where the sources seem to start, the core of his mission, this message of universal mercy.
It's fascinating, actually, how quickly the sources establish the sheer breadth of his purpose. They zero in on this powerful principle from the Qur'an, Enbiya 21.107.
Okay.
Which translates essentially to, we sent you to all humanity as nothing but a mercy.
Nothing but a mercy, wow.
Right, it's not just a nice phrase. The sources present it as like the blueprint. It explicitly states his message wasn't just for one group or one time. It was boundless for all humanity.
That idea, universal mercy, it really resonates. But okay, how did that work in practice? How was this mercy meant to be, embodied? There's another verse mentioned, Ahzab 33.21. How does that connect this huge mission to being a beautiful example for, us?
That's a great question,
right?
Because this is exactly where the sources shift from the abstract concept to lived reality. Ahzab 33.21 says, indeed, in the messenger of Allah, you have a beautiful example.
The beautiful example.
For anyone who hopes for Allah in the last day and remembers Allah often. And this is crucial. The sources stress is not just history. His life is shown as a tangible guide, a blueprint for living out mercy, justice, patience, truth.
So not just something to read about, but to do.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And when you look at, the world today, the leaders, the systems, the conflicts, his example, as these sources frame it, it stands in pretty stark contrast, doesn't it? It becomes a benchmark, a challenge, really.
A benchmark. I like that. So his life is a practical guide, and the sources bring up this concept, a ghafla, heedlessness. That seems really tied into this idea of living the example. How does ghafla affect things?
Right. The sources define ghafla as this profound kind of unawareness or forgetting, being oblivious to this living example right in front of us.
Okay.
And for someone caught in that state, the sources suggest forgetting these lessons. It can lead to, pretty serious consequences. Silence when you should speak against injustice. Indifference when things are unfair. Turning away from the very principles he lived by.
So it's not just a personal lapse, it has wider implications.
Exactly. The sources imply that failing to constantly engage with his example isn't just, forgetting something.
No.
It can actually contribute to a kind of societal decay.
That's a powerful thought. Connecting our own awareness or lack of it to the health of society.
Wow. Okay, so beyond being an example, the sources also mention his role as a warner and a bringer of good news. What's the significance there, especially for, people today swimming in information?
It feels incredibly relevant, almost prophetic, actually. Saba 34.28 declares, we sent you as a bringer of good news and a warner to all humanity, but most people do not know this.
Most people do not know this, even now.
That's what's striking, isn't it? The foresight. Even today, with endless information at our fingertips, we still see so much injustice, suffering, and frankly, a real unresponsiveness to it all.
Yeah, apathy seems widespread. Right. So the sources imply that even when the message of mercy and justice is there, many remain, oblivious, unknowing. So his birth anniversary, Mevlid Kandili, it's presented less as just a celebration and more like a recurring wake-up call.
A reminder.
A reminder that values like mercy, truth, justice, they aren't just nice ideas on a shelf. They demand action, active engagement. This ghafla, this heedlessness, isn't just individual. It's portrayed as a kind of societal blindness. Makes us vulnerable.
So it's about living these values, not just ticking a box saying you know them. And the sources go even deeper, don't they, into his personal compassion. That seems like the bedrock. What do they say about the depth of that empathy?
Oh, they offer some profoundly moving insights. Tebi 9.128, for instance, paints this vivid picture. It says, there has certainly come to you a messenger from among yourselves. Grievous to him is what you suffer. He is concerned over you.
Grievous to him is what you suffer.
And to the believers, he is kind and merciful. This verse really hammers home his deep, almost visceral compassion, his sensitivity to human suffering. In a world where, let's be honest, indifference can feel like the default setting, his empathy, as described, becomes this beacon, a powerful model for how individuals, and maybe even societies, should interact.
A model for interaction.
And our sources connect this deep compassion directly to his mission. They argue it wasn't just about, prayers and rituals. It was about fostering real peace, real justice in society, driving an active stance against that heedlessness, against injustice, all flowing from this immense care.
Okay, those verses really set the stage, the mission, the core qualities. But how do the sources connect this big picture, this profound message, with daily life? What specific character traits do they highlight that really brought these principles alive, moving us from the universal call to a closer look at the man himself?
Excellent question. Because the sources spent a lot of time on exactly that, the tangible stuff, the lived reality of this character. Let's start with his humility and authenticity.
Humility.
Yeah, it was clearly extraordinary, right?
Okay.
But the sources emphasize he lived simply, looked like anyone else, walked among people.
Blended in.
Right. And his silence often said more than words when he did speak. Concise, precise, never too much, never too little. And get this, he never let worldly stuff or personal insults make him angry. Never sought revenge.
That's hard to imagine sometimes.
Isn't it? His forgiveness wasn't just like an action. It was natural. He didn't just forgive enemies, he apparently valued them somehow. The sources have this beautiful line, he was as he appeared and appeared as he was, just pure integrity.
As he appeared and appeared as he was. That level of authenticity, it's a huge challenge, isn't it? Especially today. But what about justice? You mentioned forgiveness, but the sources also paint him as absolutely unyielding on justice. How far did that go? Is there an example that really makes you stop and think?
Oh, definitely. This is where the sources really push us. While he forgave personal hurts, he was completely uncompromising on the rights of others, and crucially, on God's rights.
Who accepted?
None. The sources give this really stark example. He declared quite clearly that if his own daughter, Fatima, someone incredibly beloved to him, were to steal, he would apply the law. He would cut off her hand.
Wow. His own daughter.
It suggests that for justice to be real, it has to be utterly impartial, blind to relationships, to status, even to your deepest affections. Now, he forgave those who attacked him, spat on him, insulted him. If they genuinely sought forgiveness later, that's a whole other level of mercy.
Yeah.
But on the principle of justice for all, rock solid.
That's an almost unimaginable standard of impartiality, especially for someone in a position of leadership.
Yeah.
How did this character translate into how he actually, talked to people, dealt with them? What about his communication style, decision-making?
Well, his approach was frankly revolutionary for the time, and maybe still is. He spoke with incredible gentleness, politeness, ethical grace, consciously avoided harsh words, demeaning language, accusations.
So careful with his words.
Very. He actually attributed it to divine teaching, saying, "My Lord educated me, and how beautifully he educated me." But it wasn't just what he said. He was a mishret insanyata, a consulting person.
A consulting person? What does that mean?
It means he deeply valued input from everyone, women, young people, elders, even children apparently, on all sorts of matters. This wasn't just for show. The sources say it was a genuine effort to make sure the best ideas came out. Real collaboration.
So he listened, actively sought advice.
Absolutely. And when he spoke himself, his words were crystal clear, distinct. He'd often repeat important points 3 times so everyone, absolutely everyone, could understand.
That's so different from a lot of leadership we see, where consultation can feel a bit performative. It also sounds like he was deeply committed to building community. What do the sources tell us about that? About loyalty, building bonds?
They highlight a truly transformative power there. He fostered this deep sense of brotherhood. So deep, it apparently healed wounds that were centuries old, like the Evs and Hazarek tribes warring for 120 years, the sources say.
120 years.
Yeah. And he brought them together. His teachings were the foundation. Believers are brothers. One is not among us if their neighbor is hungry. A true believer desires for others what they desire for themselves.
Powerful principles.
And it wasn't just talk, it was lived. The sources also stress his incredible loyalty. To his friends, his companions, he remembered every single one, never forgot them. And crucially, he never ever engaged in backbiting or allowed it around him, cultivating real trust.
That kind of loyalty and brotherhood points to a real selflessness, doesn't it? The sources use a term, hazbili. Could you unpack that? His courage, His selflessness.
Yeah.
What was his driving motivation, according to these texts?
Absolutely. His courage and selflessness were, well, legendary, according to these accounts.
Yeah.
In battles, never hiding in the back, always on the front lines, proclaiming he feared no one but Allah. It wasn't just being brave, it was profound trust. And this hasbili, this selflessness, it meant he sought nothing for himself. No worldly reward, not even, the sources suggest, heavenly reward for himself, for his service. His only concern, his ummah, his community.
Only the community.
That's what the sources emphasize. He mentioned them at his birth, apparently, and we'll mention them again on the Day of Judgment. Just complete devotion to their well-being with zero thought of personal gain. It's a powerful take on leadership and sacrifice.
Incredible dedication. And yet, amidst all this seriousness, this immense responsibility, the sources also call him a hero of compassion and mercy. They even mention he used humor. How did compassion and jokes fit into this picture?
It really speaks to the depth, the humanity of his character, doesn't it? He was indeed a Shefkat ve Merhamet Karamanoija, a hero of compassion and mercy. Possessing this tenderness, described as even more subtle, more profound than a mother's love for her child.
More than a mother's love.
That's the description. And this compassion wasn't weakness, it was the strength that drew people in, that changed them. And yes, humor and jokes were part of it too.
Really?
Yeah. He'd often joke, the sources say, with children, his wives, the poor, people who just needed a bit of connection, maybe a moment of lightness. It was a way to build bridges, break down barriers.
But selectively.
Exactly. He apparently avoided joking with companions who had really serious responsibilities. He understood the weight they carried. So it shows this really nuanced understanding of human connection, knowing when humor helps and when seriousness is needed.
That's fascinating. And finally, the sources talk about his tolerance and forgiveness in practice. How did that actually play out day to day?
It was remarkable, apparently. Really set him apart. Immense patience, especially with people who were, well, rude or ill-mannered. He'd overlook clumsy actions, awkwardness, without holding resentment.
Didn't call them out.
Never directly exposed anyone's faults publicly. Instead, he had these incredibly refined methods. He'd pray for people in their absence. If there was an error to address, he might speak about it in general terms without naming names. Or he'd take someone aside privately, correct them gently, always preserving their dignity.
Always preserving dignity.
That focus on guidance, not humiliation. It's a profound lesson in leadership and just basic human interaction, isn't it?
It really is. It paints an incredible picture, this mosaic of virtues, all seemingly flowing from that core of universal mercy. Now, the sources do something quite striking here. They present this intense empathy exercise for you, our listener, asking us to really try and step into some immense shoes.
Yeah, consider this for a moment. Just try to imagine, what would you actually do if you face trials like these, day after day? Imagine people spitting on your face, literally, or piling filth on your head while you're trying to pray.
It's hard to even picture.
What if you were physically attacked, slapped, thorns, sharp stones deliberately put in your path, ambushed with daggers? Imagine being mocked constantly, publicly, slandered with the worst lies about your own family, having people you love brutally murdered, their bodies desecrated.
Stop, yeah.
What if armies were sent after you again and again, killing your friends, wounding you repeatedly, and finally being forced out of your home, your city, everything you knew? Could you? Could you even carry on, let alone without bitterness, let alone with forgiveness in your heart?
It seems almost impossible, humanly impossible to endure that without breaking or becoming consumed by anger. And yet, the sources reveal his response, his actual response after all that. What was it?
His words, as recorded, were Ya Rab bilmularlar onlara afele viriat aisle, which means, O Lord, they do not know, forgive and guide them.
They do not know, forgive and guide them after all of that.
After all of that, this incredible capacity for ava masamaha, for active forgiveness and tolerance, even after such intense, prolonged personal suffering. It's presented as something truly extraordinary, not just resilience, transformative forgiveness.
Transformative forgiveness. Okay, so bringing this all together, what does this mean for us today?
Yeah.
Here and now. We've done this deep dive, looked at these powerful sources on his life, his character.
Well, the key takeaway, I think, as these sources really emphasize, is that his birth, Mevlid Kandili, it isn't just about remembering history. It's framed as this recurring active call.
A call to do what?
A call to bring mercy and justice into our world. To stand against oppression. Yeah. To constantly remember that mission. Be a mercy to all humanity. For anyone who is conscious, who is listening, the sources are clear. This is a moment to reevaluate everything.
Everything.
Your life, your stance in society, your responsibilities, it goes way beyond just rituals. It's about a whole way of being, of acting in the world, a comprehensive, active engagement.
Right, an active engagement. And the sources just keep coming back to his unwavering mercy, his love, compassion, tolerance, qualities that didn't just inspire people, but actually transform them. Even people who were incredibly difficult were changed into, well, exemplary figures themselves, right?
Which really leaves us with a powerful question, doesn't it? A question for you, our listener, to maybe sit with after this. Considering that profound, transformative impact his character had, how he cultivated these virtues, even in the hardest hearts, what does that tell us about the enduring power of these qualities? Mercy, forgiveness, justice, compassion. What potential do they hold right now in any context, for anyone, for you, if you choose to truly embrace them? Something to reflect on, wouldn't you say?